Hi everyone, welcome to your April first session, April 2019 here for Mystic Soul. I apologize for the inconvenience. Apparently YouTube changed their rules about how many subscribers you're supposed to have in order to have the ability to live stream through YouTube on your phone. So I didn't know that until I went to try it tonight with you guys. Obviously I was able to do it, like last week. Can I just share with you I'm drinking some yummy throat coat tea, and oh my god, I just love this mug. It is my favorite. So I attempted to, they said, it was allowed for me to do it from my desktop. So I tried to do that with my Mac, but for some reason it wasn't working. And since I never even tested it with my Mac, it said that there's some sort of browser issue. So I probably needed to, I used Safari. Maybe I needed to use Firefox. I don't know. So instead I'm recording it. I see that, I don't see anyone waiting, or I didn't see anyone waiting, for class. So I'm thinking maybe it's a perfect night anyway to have it as a recording. I hope it's convenient for everyone else. Once I, finish with the recording, I will be uploading it to your classroom. The YouTube, it takes several hours when you have to upload a video instead of just live streaming. Obviously live streaming is faster, and then they do some upload process in the background after class ends. So just rolling with the punches, and we're gonna have some more tea. And I'm going to start class. Today is Shadow Astrology and Crystal Healing. I want to do a quick little bit of an opening of the circle with my beautiful wand here, quartz wand. I love this wand. So just going clockwise to open the circle. It's a class of information, but we're still in a magical container. I did some extra magical opening prior to class to get us, ready and started for this beautiful information of magic and wisdom and all the things. I also wanted to mention for your second session, and I guess that was actually a really good thing I did. Your second session this month is the Harmony Rite. And that's an amazing one, all about the archetypes within your 7 main chakras. So, you know what? I keep looking down because I'm trying to find my glasses. Make sure I'm seeing properly, right? So it's the Harmony Rite. And I had mentioned that I was going to just do it live from Texas when we're visiting for April vacation, but something said maybe you should just record this and have it ready for them for class in case something weird happens. And now I'm glad I did, because something weird would have happened. Tonight told me that we weren't going to be able to record it from my phone, which was my plan, and I wouldn't have had my Mac or anything else at the time either. So even if this night came as a surprise to me, I prepped for the Mac, I wouldn't have been able to do it because I wouldn't have all that with me down in Texas. So I recorded your Harmony Rite this morning. So you get to do that. I'll post that sometime this weekend because I want to give you time to process and integrate this class, your Synergy 12 bonus class that's ready for you too. Then I will shoot you an email with the link to the Harmony Rite as well, so that you have it. You can watch it anytime, or maybe you want to watch it at 6 p.m. on Thursday next week on the 18th, as a way of just reconnecting with everyone who's already going to be watching it. So I recorded the Harmony Rite today. It's about an hour-and-a-half class that I recorded for you for next week. That one is beautiful. The meditation came out, and I could feel the energy, and it was just really a magical experience. And it's going to be with the intention set that anyone who comes, as I mentioned in our prior classes, anyone who comes to our class for the meditation will be held within the time frame that they come, because time and space is of no essence. So the container's always open for you and ready for you when you want to go dive deep into any of the rites and any of the meditations, any of the classes. You're held there in that container, which is amazing. So I like that. So that's a beautiful class that you can look forward to soon. And tonight's class, so we are going into shadow astrology and crystal healing methods. So I love the PDFs. The notes are in your classroom for tonight's class. I love the kitties and the doggies and the humans, because we can crystal grid our pets too. They love the energy. If they take off, they're not meant to, you know, have the energy. They know even deeper than we do, right? Like my kitty is right here. I have the bed off to the side because I was going to do a class. Look. She's usually never down here, but she snuck in, so I let her. I have all my, you noticed all my, my crystal singing bowl containers so that I can travel tomorrow with them. I'm going to do a early full moon singing bowl event tomorrow night at the Woods Yoga. So, anyone who's around on Friday, if we haven't already filled up, you can just sign up. Okay, so since the shadow astrology, it's so huge, I wanted to start first with our crystal healing. My plan is to get through the shadow astrology and the crystal healing tonight, and then during our deeper dive at the end of the month on 25th, which it is my goal to have it handled, this whole live streaming thing. And hey, get some people to subscribe to my channel so that I can live stream. It used to be 100 subscribers, which I surpassed a few times now, thankfully. But now we need 1,000 subscribers or more to live stream from your phone. We can still do it from our desktop. I'm not sure why that is, but whatever. So during the deeper dive, I'll answer any questions you have throughout the month, throughout the entire course so far. And then we're going to go into shamanic Vogel extraction for our third class. I'm going to give you the process for that. Marcel Vogel's process for shamanic healing with the Vogel, that magic that he created, and show you some of the Vogels that I have as well. And if you have a Vogel, great. If you don't, no big deal. If you have, so like when we do our crystal healing tonight, method of the madness, you will be asked to have a double terminated wand. A double terminated wand means there's a point on both ends. So you're asked to have one of those. If you don't, a Vogel is a double terminated wand. So if for some reason you don't have the double terminated wand, but you actually have a Vogel, go for that. The Vogel will do the same job. Okay, so now let's get started. So we're going to start with our crystal healing. And also just let me know how you're doing. Post in the group or shoot me some emails or instant messages, posting in the group. Other people in the group love the interaction, and any questions that you have would help other people in the group as well. There are no silly questions. All of them are right and perfect. Someone else might have had the question but didn't want to ask, or maybe they didn't know they had the question until you asked it, and then they said, ooh, good question, and then it prompted a really good discussion. So ask away, let me know how you're doing, and just let me know how you're processing all of the rights and all the information, and enjoy the undercurrent of energy that is occurring always during these shamanic type classes, right? So, I want to make sure I got everything. You know what? Okay. Whew. Setting the tone for the space. We're going to do a quick little Burning of the sage. Just to clear the space and all the weird, crazy, wacky things going on with technology today, trying to get into class with you guys. Whew. Taking it around the body. And now just a little virtual smudge for you guys. Just calling your energy to present time, calling your energy into this moment for this beautiful class. Information and fun, different methods that you can use for your healing, for your clients' healing, if you're working with other people, clients, friends, family. Okay. Whew. That was good. I love me some sage. So, we're going to go through the crystal healing process. Now, I'm gonna grab well, let's see if I can do it with the visuals on here. Okay. So I just want to go through basic protocol. Oh yeah, so the other bonus class this month, if I didn't mention it already for you guys, I wanted to make sure that we went into just crystal gridding. And then some of the different types of crystals that you can come across, like generators, spheres, all the things, maybe Vogels, and their uses and their assistance in this universe. So that will be your other bonus class this month. So look out for that towards the end of the month. I'll record it when I get back from Texas after next week. So you have your Synergy 12 bonus class, your offering tonight for your first class is your crystal healing and shamanic and shadow astrology, and then we have our harmony rite next week, and then the last is the deeper dive with the shamanic extraction with Vogels, and I plan to record your crystal gridding and that informational class. So it's a packed month. It's very packed. So I'm hoping you're enjoying class. I'm going to take one more sip before this gets cold. I am not a fan of cold tea. I actually don't like tea at all. I like herbal. The kind that tastes like tea. I don't know why. It's just my taste buds. I'm sorry. I'm not into tea. But I love green chai tea. So that's how I get my healthy green tea in me, is add the chai, and then I'm good. Don't taste that tea at all. But it's yummy. It's a good one for me, especially because I gave up coffee like 6 months ago. And I forget if I mentioned it in this class, but Jesus came to me in several visions, telling me to give up coffee, and I didn't listen the first time. Who doesn't listen to Jesus? But it takes a while to get out of a habit, right? And then at first you start to doubt, did that really happen? Did he really say that? And part of you doesn't want to believe it, especially when you want to continue it. But he told me not to drink the coffee. So I think it was mostly because of the aspartame and the sweeteners I was using rather than in coffee itself. But I don't like black coffee, so it was give up the coffee. So I have my tea now instead as my hot drink, or hot chocolate, which of course. Jumping in now, crystal healing. So if you work with clients on energy healing, this will be a really great tool for you to have. And just if you're going into meditation for yourself, a perfect tool for yourself. I grid my body all the time. It's like 1,000 pictures ago that I took a picture of me all gridded. So if I can ever find it, I'll post it. But you get the idea with the pictures that I included in your PDF. You can grid your client, you can grid yourself and go into meditation. Just having them aligned with the chakras, having them beside certain chakras if they're not an appropriate spot, unless you're alone and it's just you. And then I just, like I mentioned, I love to feel the energy of the stone on my skin. But there are powerful effects just with it being in your aura and close to your skin, even if it isn't touching your skin. So first thing you do when you're going into a crystal healing session for self or someone else, you want to smudge just like we did. So you're going to do the fun sage, Palo Santo, Osha root. I've been getting back into Osha root lately. I love it. It smells like mapley yumminess, like maple bacon almost. But it's another powerful tool for protection and cleansing. Ask your client if you're doing this for another person. Just make sure that they're cool with smoke, cool with different types, because they might be allergic. So you just ask quick, are you allergic to anything? Do you mind if I burn sage or any of the other things? So just ask your client and then you'll be good to go. You're going to open a circle. So you can open the circle before your client shows up if you're doing it with a client. It's a beautiful way to do it where you can, do it in the air like I've done in class. This isn't very pointy. Any selenite, you can take your selenite and then you can actually touch the rug or the floor that's around the table that your client's going to be on and draw a big circle so that you're within the circle too. And then draw it all the way around the table and go around 3 times so it protects your client, you and your home, and so on and so forth. 3 times is good. If you have the time, it's not, you don't always have the time, but if you have time, do that selenite wand 3 times clockwise in a circle around the healing space. And then after you set up your circle, you can lay quartz generators out. You can do a grid under the table. I love to have selenite under the table. I have my, excuse me. Let me just go get it so I can show you. Be right back. Oh, getting down slow, going slow. So I like to put this under the table. It's my Shri Yantra. It's said to have the power of 9 in numerology stacked and within, and then like on the bottom, it just looks really cool when you look inside. So it has the 4 directions of the quartz, and then that Shri Yantra in the center, aiming the energy up. So it calls the energy from the earth, bringing it up, and then flows out. So it has that flow of energy. So you can place it under the table. I like to place it close to the crown chakra of the person, or the head area, 3rd eye crown, under the table. So here, so you can do your generators where you place them around the circle in a line, creating a vortex of energy. You can place them in 4s, so it's the 4 directions. You can do 7s, because 7 is a magical, mystical number. The 7 chakras, the 7 chumpy stones, 7 mountains in Peru. 7 is a very mystical number. 8s, you could do it in 8s where you do the quarters and then the cross quarters in between. 8's another powerful number, of course, for abundance, infinity. Then, so like you decide, and as I mentioned during your Chumpy bonus session we did last month, wasn't the first month, was it? So the Chumpy stones create a sacred container when you put it in a circle. So I love to place the Chumpy stones around the table as well as an extra added bonus for a sacred container. You can do that. You can also choose the different stones that you're working with to create a sacred container. You can choose stones that are lined up more with earth or more with water and air and fire. So you can choose to have those in the 4 directions to really call in the energy even more. Just keep layering the correspondence in that magic. And then, of course, we call in our guides, angels, archangels, and all the things and all the beings that we want to call in for the session. And as I mentioned, or I should say, as I have mentioned in your Harmony Rite that you'll be watching next week, I love to say the invocation. I invoke the light of the spirit here within. I am a clear and perfect channel. I am love. I am light. It was passed down to me during my Reiki training. So I say that 3 times before I start, and then I call in, and I might draw my symbols in my hands, that kind of thing. But that was shared to me. So I say that 3 times. And if you, that's not in your notes, but I can post it in the group if you need it, if you need to remember it or want to remember what that is. And then you set up the crystals under the table if you'd like, as well as creating that container. You do the container around the table, and then you can create grids under the table. I also like to have my larger selenite stones all around the head of the person on the table. And when I turn them over, I might line up, I shouldn't say when, because I don't always turn someone over on their belly. But if I do turn them over on their belly, it's a beautiful thing to set up the selenite sticks all along their spine, where the Sushumna channel is for the Kundalini energy and all of your 7 main chakras, or if it's just the spine, 5 chakras, 5, 4, whatever. So you get the point. But selenite is pure light, and it calls in that light and it clears the energy, and it just brings that peace and upliftment right away to someone. So I like to have it around the crown of their head, and if I can, around the table on the bottom, below them, and then within, like, maybe it's part of the grid that I do on them. Okay, so then you're going to consecrate and designate those generators and crystals, perhaps separate from your personal use and for the use and the healing of the clients. So let's say you have a set of crystals that you always use with your clients. Like I have a separate set that is just for clients, and is down in my healer room here. And those are, like I mentioned in, which class were we talking about? Kyanite. The kyanite came, and it just spoke to me and said that it wasn't for me, it was for all of my clients. So stones will let you know. Sometimes they already know what they're going to be for, so you can just check in with the stone. If you're not sure, you can use your pendulum. If you don't already know how to work with a pendulum, first, of course, when you're picking out the pendulum itself, that's a process in itself to just say what's being called to me. So when you have your pendulum and you work with it, just say, okay, first say, show me a yes to your pendulum. And then for me, it's always forward and back. And then say, show me a no. So show me a no. And it's usually left to right for me. And then I say, show me a maybe. And it goes in a counterclockwise position. When I want to clear someone's chakras, it's a clockwise direction sometimes for the pendulum. So what you can do if you're unsure about a stone, first you see, did the stone get warm in your hands? Did it help you? Did it tingle when you held it? Or did you just get a knowing, like, oh my God, that's my stone? All of those things, something like that, of that sort may happen. If nothing happens and you're still unsure, you can get your pendulum out and say, place it over the stone, like, okay. And then you just say, okay, is this stone for me? And I get a no, of course, because I always use this for my clients. Is this stone for my clients? And that's one way to do it. Or period, should I buy this at all? And then you get the yes, the no, the maybe, all the things. What else? Something popped into my brain about that. So yeah, using your pendulum. I'll just keep going down the list. My notes here to make sure. Oh yeah, so the ones that you're working with for your clients, you can do a little ceremony, a little designation of, okay, I'm going to be working with you. These are healing crystals you're going to be working with my clients, and blessing them, charging them under the full moon, cleansing and clearing them under the full moon, then charging them under the full moon, filling them up with Reiki energy, all the things. I did mention in one of your earlier classes all of those things. So you can refer back to that. or just let me know. I can like add another post in Facebook if you forgot where that is. I know it was a recent class, so it must have been just last month, at the end of the month, I think. So once you have the crystals in place, then you're going to begin your healing session. So first you check in with your client, ask them how they're feeling. Is there any pain in their body? And then you're drawing their attention to their own body as well, if they haven't already kind of focused. What am I feeling right now? What do I really want to work on? What's my intention for this session? So that you have a little conversation that'll give you some hints about where you want to go with the crystals, and different crystals will pop into your brain. I need to work on grounding more and being present. So of course you're going to pull out some grounding chakra stones like red garnet, black tourmaline. How grounded do you want them to be? Hematite. Hematite is very heavy for me, so I don't always work with it, but it's one of those stones that my son gravitates to and loves, and he's very high energy, hard to focus. So hematite's a really good one for him. It helps ground his energy. I hope she comes over. Kitty Coco's coming to check out the grid. Do you see her little furry body? Oh my God, she's so cute. Oh, look at the kitty. Oh, she's like, I need to get in this closet right now. Little Kitty Coco magic for you. So then, okay, so you're checking in. How are they feeling? If you sense discomfort throughout, let me know, and we can adjust things to say to them. Get them to notice and be aware. Reassure them in a session that tingles and warmth and emotions and temperature changes are all normal and will happen. And maybe even just like a regular energy session too, memories might pop up. Past life memories might pop up. Things will be, they'll start to clear. Air will release. So that's like the little shakes in your body that can happen, the burps, the hiccups, the everything. So that can happen. That can happen for you as the healer holding the space for this to happen. You are not doing the healing. You're just holding the container and being the channel for the energy, as well as crystals channeling their own beautiful energy. Energy leaves the body. We send and receive energy through the top of our head, palms of our hands, soles of our feet. We release through our tears as well. So those are some good things to remember when you're thinking about where to place certain stones. And we'll get into that in just a minute. Ask about smudging. When you're moving around your client and placing stones and stuff, it's best to try and do it clockwise. Just like when we open a container, we do clockwise, and when we close, it's counterclockwise when we release it. So being aware, we have our 7 main chakra centers, and then we also have our soul star chakra above the crown, and we have an earth star chakra below our feet into the earth. So you can test the feet and the hands with your client to start before actually starting. Then you begin your session. So energy scan through the chakras with your hands. I'm such a visual person that I will sometimes just do it at the crown of the head, or kind of like go when I get there instead of doing a quick scan beforehand. But something that you can do is just run your hands over the person's body, like a few inches above the person's body, to see what you feel. Run the dominant hand over the body if you can, and can let the client know what you're doing. Notice the energies, the differences in the hands. It's good intel prior to beginning. Does your hand get warm? Do you feel energy jumps and anything happening within your hands, tingles, all the things? Those might be clues of where you need to go, where you need to place the crystals. So then, again, you're going to ask the client what their goals and intentions are. And then they can even confirm the energy scan that you did through the chakras. And again, you can use your pendulum if you're unsure. You can even just run it over certain areas and say, should I work here? Yes, no. Should I work here? Yes, no. And that's a process in and of itself. So then you can ask if it's okay to touch the client. It's a good, nice thing to do. You can talk about where you're going to put the sacral and the root chakras. You'll put those to the right side of the body for the lower chakras instead of over that area. The heart chakra. So here's some good tips on which stones to use for certain areas, but there's so many. The heart chakra, of course, you can use rose quartz for unconditional love. Bloodstone is another beautiful all-purpose pain reliever and great at the heart. Bloodstone is red and green jasper in one. It helps with joint pain, nerve pain, neuralgia, heart, cardiovascular, and also for emotions within the heart chakra. Send some energy to the stone once placed over the heart chakra. Stones itself have a flower of life pattern inside them. Like every stone has a geometric pattern within them. It's pretty magical. The sacred geometry merges, right? And placing the energy on top of it places your flower of life connecting to the stone's flower of light, enhancing the stone's goals and healing energy to flow through and from source, God, Goddess, the divine, the angels. And then we have connecting crystals. So, oh, right. I wanted to mention, if it's down here, salt is good for the feet. So you could even, do you see over here, my Himalayan salt stones. You can have them, they're nice and warm from the light. You can grab one of those, two of those, one on either end of the feet to help extract, cleanse, and purify anything, taking it out through the feet. Just kind of jumping around to make sure I get everything. So at the throat, angelite stone is good for the throat. Feel angels can be comforting. Blue, an opening for expressing self and the voice, and of course kyanite, blue kyanite for the throat or blue kyanite for the whole chakra system balances. Connecting crystals, double terminated primary Lemurian wand helps connect energy field to energy field, stone to stone, self to stone. Oh, do I have? I don't have my Lemurian. I left my Lemurian one upstairs. Okay, well, it happens. So let's say you've done the work, you've laid out the grid. So we had bloodstone at the heart, throat, and it's hard to remember if we did this during the first meditation, but I go through a vortex of energy deep into the earth. You can connect quartz at the crown, amethyst, also crown chakra or third eye. Azurite's a great third eye stone. It's blue and it has like a starry inside. It's beautiful. I already mentioned the throat. Angelite stone. I'm getting my thing at the throat. Throat chakra, high heart, rose quartz, heart, bloodstone, solar plexus. You can connect to citrine, yellow apatite, sunstone. Those are good ones for the solar plexus. Sacral chakra, carnelian is the beautiful magical stone. It's a more masculine version. So like at the sacral chakra, you might connect to two. Divine feminine, divine masculine energy. So carnelian, where it brings you and connects you to sensuality and sexuality and energy. It's said to be the caffeine stone, that orange stone you'll place on the masculine side of the body, perhaps, on the right, and then on the left for the feminine. Because we receive through the left, we send through the right. Decipher, use your intuition if you tend to receive opposite. But most people receive through the left, send through the right. Divine feminine through the left, divine masculine through the right. Lunar energy allowing. Solar active energy, masculine. So malachite is another good one for the sacral chakra because that's your divine feminine. So you'll balance them both out. And malachite's green. It's also great for the heart too. Root chakra, like I mentioned before, red garnet, black tourmaline, black obsidian, and black tourmaline. Did I say that? Hematite. So you can decide like what is your grounding chakra. So, and then I mentioned the feet where you can bring in the Himalayan salt. Selenite is also great for the crown chakra or any part of the body, period. So that's your mini recommendation. So let's say you have the grid. And then what you're going to do is pull out your double terminated wand. So it's important to use the double terminated wand for this purpose. If you have one. If you don't have one, you can use a Vogel. If you don't have a Vogel or a double terminated wand, you can use a tower, a generator. It'll create a little extra connection, of course, it'll connect all the crystals. And it might not be as potent, maybe of a connection. But also remember what we mentioned, your finger is very powerful. Your finger is your magical wand. So you can use a magic wand. You can connect with a magic wand if you have it. Or your finger can be your magic wand, and you can touch yourself, touch the stone, the first stone that you're going to work on with your finger, or double terminated, so you connecting yourself to the energy session with your client, or if it's just yourself, so you can touch your third eye and then go to the first stone. Maybe it's at the crown chakra. Let me just make sure I'm saying it right before I continue. So you wouldn't want a single terminated wand for this purpose because it can't pick up energy on one side. It will not connect energy like a double terminated. Connect energetically to the stones one to the next. Always do to the right. So use the wand. One end touches the first stone, and then the throat to the heart to the right, and then left to right tapping. Do you get it? And then left to right. A few times, no set number, just when you feel they are connected, then you are done. If you don't have a wand, you can visualize an energy line, connect the stones together, point to point. Beaming energy from hand. Your hand is another option, remember? Light. You can connect energy with your hand, imagining there is a beam of energy from your hand to connect stone to stone with that beam of energy from your hand. So you could either do whole hand or finger. So, I'll bring out my tanzanite as like an example of something at the heart. Oh, well, let's pretend that's the one. So let's say you just have a few crystals on the body. So we have our visual body down here too on the picture, but and then you have maybe one stone in each of the hands of your clients, and one's on the third eye, one's on the heart, just so I can show you. So you as the healer, you can touch one end of the double terminated wand to your forehead, your third eye, and then bring the next one down to the stone that's on the third eye, and then back up to your third eye. And then you keep doing that until you feel like it's done. I might do it once, 3 times tops, just because it's time to move on. But yes, they're connected. And then from this third eye stone, go down to the heart center. Or actually, let's say this is the throat. So from third eye to throat until you feel like that's connected. And once that's connected, then you're going to go down to the heart center. So the heart center stone and back up to the throat. And heart and throat. Heart and throat. And even though I'm just doing this as an example, I'm starting to feel some energy being more activated. Isn't that interesting? So I'm just because I have my other citrine over here. And then if you have the hands, then you'll go from the heart to the left hand. Heart, left hand. Heart, left hand. Then heart, right hand. Or you can go from hand to hand. Hand to hand. That's what it is. Hand, left hand to right hand. Once or 3 times, or however many you need to do. I got a little mark because I was pressing really hard there. And then they're done. They're connected. You've done all the things to all the things. You wouldn't necessarily need to do this with the Himalayan salt stones at the feet, but you can, just to connect them all. You can. So I hope that makes sense. And then I can always try to do a quick, really fast example of someone, actual body. Like my husband can be my guinea pig again, and we can do a little example of how that would go. And then for him, maybe a lot of acid reflux, so I might get some bloodstone going, some extra heart chakra stuff like rose quartz. So you connect with your client, you ask them what they need. And then you just go from there, use your intuition. So when I first started working with crystals, I didn't have as much knowledge as I did intuition. So I would just be like, that's the one I'm going to work for you. That's the one I'm going to work for this thing. And I just, kept working with it in that way until I gained more knowledge and wisdom. So then I could tap into that and then still use the intuition first. Like you might logically say, I must use rose quartz, it's the heart center, but you're drawn to use bloodstone. So you're going to use the bloodstone or whatever, even if it isn't designated heart chakra stone. Sometimes you need to place something there that might not be quote unquote for that chakra. It doesn't matter. Everything's connected. You're going to use your intuition always. Fall back on your truth always. Okay. And then you can use the same wand for a body scan once again. So from the soul star chakra all the way down to the earth star, soles of the feet, to see if you sense anything else. While here, any additional stones can be added. So that you've gridded, you've done the connecting of all the stones. Now they're feeling the beautiful energy and they're in their energy healing session, and you are just using this. So there's scanner stones out there that are really beautiful and clear that will magnify certain areas as you look through it. Or you can just use the stone as a magnifier to help you when scanning over someone's body. So allow the client to hold stones if you're drawn, like I said. So ruby stone is another great one for the heart, life force, and passion. Also helps with connecting to your emotions on a deep level. Ask or place in the right hand, connecting with the energy of the ruby stone. So like if you add stones after you've done all the setup, you can just go and just do it. Or if you feel like you want to just touch the stone from the last stone that you worked with and then touch the new stone, you can. So you can use spheres. They send energy in all directions. Can have client hold a clear quartz crystal in the left hand that will magnify the energy of all of the work we are doing, but also connect the energy of the ruby and magnify ruby in the other hand if you have ruby in one hand and quartz crystal in the other. Then work with essential oils if you desire. Again, asking if the client's cool with it. Placing near their nose to connect to the scent of it. Place on the third eye, touch the stones. The essential oils hold heightened, deep, high vibrational magic. So instead of the stones, combine that and then you layer the correspondence. So you can touch each of the stone with some of the oil from to heighten the magic. What am I trying to say here? Activate deeper inner knowing, wisdom, and how to activate and work with crystals in a way that she's meant to and intend. Your intention is the most important thing. Brief prayer. Connect with the guides and angels and fairies. Keep the client safe and allow the crystals to do the work on your behalf for highest and best good always. So you can just be like, okay, I'm holding the space. Remove me as much as possible from the process so that I'm a clear and perfect channel and the crystals can just do the work. So on an energetic level, between the interaction with the client and stones, it's about alignment and connecting. You're making a bridge with where client wants to be, working with the stones and moving in that right direction for her, and use any feedback that may come. Again, salt for the feet. Size of stones does not matter. Length of time with the stones does not matter. The second you finish gridding and we're done, the healing work was done. So the work's done. It's instantaneous with the crystals. You can instantly remove the stones if you want, or allow a little extra time, allow the client to reflect and go within. You can do one final scan can feel the evenness of the energy, hopefully, by the end of the session. Temperature is more even and fluid. Unlocked and moved energy centers. Check in and be sure you felt like you moved some energies. Once complete, so like obviously you can lay out the crystal grid and be done, and that's your crystal session, or you can lay out the crystals, do all the things, then do some Reiki, do some IET, do other things that you bring into the session, sound healing, feathers, rattles, etc. Once complete, you're going to remove the crystals and stones in the opposite direction that you placed them. So the last one is removed first. And then thank them for their energy and their healing as you're removing them. And you and your client may even feel patterns disconnected as you remove the stones. You can kind of like do that as your process of severing any ties that might have, any cords that might have been connected. So then ask the client how they feel, if there's anything else they need to say or connect with here for the session. And you can share anything that came up for you energetically during the session for the client. And then, of course, here you can do it 15 minutes for the crystal session. You could even go a half a day, several hours into a session. It can be however long it's meant to be for each client. And you don't always have to be in the room for the work. Maybe you move on to another client while they're processing on, maybe they have a biomat. That I love my biomat, which is infrared energy that is said to embed its beautiful healing energies at least 6 inches deep into your body, lined with amethyst healing crystals and black tourmaline. Awesome healing there. Or you're staying present with the client the whole time. I do prefer the whole stay present the whole time. And then if you're leaving, you're not going to yet another client. You're leaving to give space for a little time to process, and then coming back or something like that. That's just my preference. No wrong or right way. There's all is correct. You can do your drumming as well during the session. Like I said, all the things. So do what your specialty is. That's what you're meant to do. And then smudge at the end. Smudge before your client gets up. Smudge yourself. Smudge your crystals. Cleanse and clear them of the energy so that they can move on to your next client or your next meditation if you're doing it on self. And give thanks to the Ascended Masters, to the guides, the angels, your crystals as well, for their assistance. Release the 4 directions. You open the 4 directions, release 4 or 7 directions if you're doing it the way that I do it. And then you go. I also included some notes in here that I wrote in my book, Divine Embrace. Divine Embrace? I think it was, they were split up. It was one book, and then it became 2. How I Found My True Inner Peace, I think, is where this is actually in the first of the 2 installments. So How I Found My True Inner Peace is, has some information about grounding, and I was drawn to include it here because crystals are also a beautiful way of grounding with Earth, just connecting to Earth. And when we ground, it's about raising our vibrations, but being able to bring in that heightened energy and frequency and light into our body and down into the earth. So we're embodying it and bringing it into the earth, so the earth can be all filled up with that as well, and just coming into present, not past, not future, just here and now. So I included a little, it's a couple of pages that you can read about that, just some cool tips for meditating, for grounding rather. So grounding is, doing the things like walking out in nature, steering clear of alcohol, caffeine, and drugs, decrease all forms of concentration, shorter reading time, shorter prayer time, ways to ground, stomp on the bottoms of your feet on the ground, just getting up and doing something different, hug a tree, etc., etc. If you feel like you're just too out there or too much in fear, whatever it is, if you're aloof and too high up and not grounded, or if you're too much in fear and worry about past or future events, then it's time to ground and get present again. Or connect with Eagle Condor and rise up and see the forest for the trees. Same thing though, you're getting present. So that's the crystal healing part of this class. Now we're going to dive into shadow astrology. If you have questions, if I went too fast, just let me know. So you can grid your kitties and doggies. And they have chakras too. We learn about them. We have a IET for pets too, and they show the different centers of the doggies and kitties and horses and IET, which is really cool. But so maybe you grid your body and the hands or your client, and then you can put crystals and stones around your pet if you feel like you know they're going to move a lot, or on the pet. Really cool way of bringing some beautiful magic to your kitties and doggies. Your pets clear energy in your home, and they clear energy within you. You notice they go to certain areas that need to be cleansed and cleared and purified in your home. They're taking all that in, so it's nice to help them. Send them a little light, a little love, a little energy. They naturally do that. You naturally do that for them too, because that's your relationship with them. So crystals is another way to bring that amazing energy in. So now we're gonna, there's a lot to talk about. I'm hoping to keep this to 2 hours. We'll see. So shadow astrology is a way of, so hopefully you've been able to look up your chart. Astro.com, astrology.com. I have Time Passages app on my phone that I love. You can get the free version, or you can get the pro version for $30, and then you can do as many people as you want. It's nice to get to know your chart and yourself. It's also nice to get to know your client or your family members or people that are close to you. And then it you kind of say, oh, wow, now I know why they react that way, act that way, do this thing. So this is going to help you with that. And you might start to get a little obsessed with doing everyone's chart. Who knows? Or maybe not. It's really cool. So in shadow astrology, it's helpful to note that you are signs. All the signs have a positive and negative. Just like everything, the universe balances itself out. So all the signs have a positive and negative, and it's about fine-tuning, like figuring out where it is in your chart via the planets as well as the houses. Astrology itself is a rabbit hole. So just if you can get a tiny snapshot, that's helpful. And then you can expand as you're able to take in the information and go deeper. So if you don't already know, a good tip for, it's not even on the first page, but I have it in your notes. Page, it's like towards the end. Huh. Isn't the last page, really? I swear it's in here. Oh, I must have passed it. Okay. It's in your notes. I know it is. All right. So it's helpful to get to know your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign. And like I said, it's in your notes. So at least you can always refer back if I go too fast or anything like that. And you can write this down. Your sun sign is your life path. And what your sign is, you start to work with that sign, and hopefully as you near the latter part of your life, you start to really reach the positive aspects of that sign, to really master it in a way that you can figure out the challenges of the sign and move through them with more ease and just embody more the positive aspects of the sign. So your life path is your sun sign. So mine's Aries, positive and negative aspects of Aries. We have the extra energy, the quick to act, can be good, can be not so good. Impatience is the not so good. So every sign has their thing. And you look up your sign and just kind of get to know what your sign is. Aries is ruled by Mars. So getting to know, like, Aries is already a fiery sign, and it's ruled by Mars, the planet of war. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Should I do that first? Let's see. I want to get into shadow astrology, but maybe. Oh, I do have it. It's page 5 in your notes. So talking about your so sun, moon, rising. Let's stay on point. Rising sign is what? So sun first, divine masculine energy. 2, your moon, divine feminine energy, which makes sense because your moon sign is your subterranean levels. It's your deepest desires. Your moon sign is what your partner knows best and what you haven't gotten to know yet. It comes out without you wanting it to. It's your subconscious shadow self. Shadow wants to be free depending on your sign. So we're going to talk about moon signs because they're part of the shadow astrology. So sun sign is who you truly are by day. You're conscious. It takes a whole lifetime to become either a developmental version of your sun sign or an evolved version. If developing, you are still working through the kinks, haven't moved through the youthful aspects of your sign yet. Evolved has moved beyond grown version of your sun sign. If you're evolved, you have moved beyond grown version of your sun sign. So rising sign is your mask. It's also seen on your chart as the ascendant. So if you don't see the word rising, you're going to see ascendant more often than not. Your rising sign is the mask that people see. It's what they see before they see anything else within you. They'll see that. Like for me, I might be that fiery Aries with that impatience and fast talking, whatever. But maybe at first you notice the Libra, the air. My rising sign is Libra, so airy, wanting peace and balance for all. So you connect to that too. It is your mask, but you do connect to that. It's still a part of how you rise to the occasion. Rising sign, right? It's how you show up to the party, your mask, and how you rise to the occasion. If you're an air sign, you could show up talkative as a rising sign. Water, more emotional, is how you seem. If you're a rising sign, is water. Earth is more aloof or grounded than you are, perhaps, unless your rising sign and sun sign are the same. Rising sign is deceptive. Fire rising shows up like you will rock the party. So hopefully that doesn't disappoint people if you're not a sun sign in fire, a fire sign. If your rising and sun sign are the same, it means you truly are who you are, who they see, which can be cool too. So I wanted to mention that just to have a quick picture of your astrology in general. If you only get those 3 tonight, perfect. You get to know a little bit more about yourself anyway. And then if you're able to dive deeper into class, these are some helpful things to also keep in mind. So before I get into shadow astrology depths, I did want to mention some of the other planets. Okay. Mercury. When it's at retrograde, there are a lot of people out there not having fun. Mercury is the communication. It tells you how to communicate. Knowing this alone can shift your relationships. You will know how to communicate better and how they do too. How they be more sensitive to all the things and how you communicate. So look up on your chart and see what sign falls in Mercury for you. I'm pretty sure mine is Aries again, because I have Aries several times in my chart. So there's a lot of Aries work for me to do. So if Cancer is if the planet, I am trying to talk. I'm going to run through the signs and these signs within Mercury. First is Cancer. How you communicate seductively if you are Cancer in Mercury. That's interesting. And I'm just going to run through it real fast. A nice checklist for you to know. If you're a Leo in Mercury, you communicate forcefully and directly. You know exactly what you're trying to communicate. Virgo, cautiously, minimally, is how they communicate. They don't like to waste anything. Libra, fairly but incompletely. Can't get them to tell you the whole story. Tricky teachers, hard to follow train of thought, never boring and always have a new story for you. If your Mercury is in Sagittarius, You communicate honestly and openly. You don't like to hide things. You will know it all with them. If it's in Scorpio, mysteriously and in a hidden way is how you communicate. Like there is a code, you want to figure it out. They want you to solve it. If your Mercury is in Capricorn, they don't want to waste any time. Remember, they're chasing the mountain. So they communicate very importantly, directly, and efficiently. Focused on the outcome is where they're at. So they could almost seem kind of curt to you, but really they're just like, I'm chasing the mountain. Let's go. If you're an Aquarius, in Mercury, you communicate differently and argumentatively. You know those people? It wants you to understand from different sides and may come off pessimistic, like always trying to disagree with you, but they just want you to see all sides. So there's a positive and a negative to that one. So Aries, if your Aries is in Mercury, they communicate quickly, aggressively, to the point, and this is what you need to know, and may get frustrated with you if you don't agree. They think they are right. Often Aries actually come off as being right. They just do. And I'm not saying that because I am an Aries. I'm saying that because that's what my teacher told me. So I'm just going to let you know. That's that. So, so even when they're not right, they think they are when they communicate, supposedly. These are not hard and fast rules. Everyone's going to be different. You may be a different part of your evolution where you've been able to work on these kinds of issues, whether you know of them within your chart or not. You just know these are things to work on, right? So now, if your Mercury's in Taurus, you will communicate reluctantly and firmly. Sometimes you have to draw it out of them. They do like to have an experience and aesthetic and like to use expressive language to communicate. Letter or long message to someone is common for them. Stubborn and won't give you a lot of options. It's the bull. Gemini. If Mercury's in Gemini, they communicate openly and actively. They never have to wonder. You never have to wonder what's on their mind. They've already told you they're optimistic and want to engage with you. So that's Mercury. Now, another quick snapshot, quick checklist for you. This will be interesting, right? For Venus, check out where your Venus is in your chart. I think mine's in Taurus. I remembered this because I liked the answer for this one. So Venus, for the planet, tells you how to love, or Venus will tells you how you love and receive energy / feminine. It's a feminine energy. So the pull, what draws you in. The pull, what draws you in. I did half sentences there. I'm so sorry. So how you receive and how you love, basically. So Cancer. If your Venus is in Cancer, receives deeply and emotionally, takes things personally, be gentle in a relationship, especially if you want to be in a clean relationship with Cancer. Be honest with all. They'll be honest with all in a relationship. So if your Venus is in Leo, love like a Leo and receive regally like a queen and openly. If it's in Virgo, you will receive love shyly and reluctantly. You don't like public displays of affection. If your Venus is in Libra, you love intellectually and very physically. They like to understand duality of their relationship, may overthink it. That's why they like for it to be physical, to stop overthinking. If your Venus is in Sagittarius, they're not always monogamous and receive liberally and externally and receive from all directions. They like to receive. They're not too discerning about where receiving it comes from. They have to watch where they receive from. So something to work on with Sagittarius and Venus. Scorpio. If Scorpio's in Venus, they love mysteriously and magically and like a shadow. They like to know all secrets and deep skeletons. That's a part of their loving relationship. If Capricorn's in Venus, they receive skeptically and superficially. They struggle with feminine and receiving, since Capricorn is ruled by a masculine planet. If it's in Aquarius, they receive unconventionally and differently. Multiple partners or open relationships. They won't follow others' rules. It's all about open and freedom loving. If it's in Pisces, if your Venus is in Pisces, you receive in tender mystical ways like Camelot. Something to mention here. Remember, retrograde is what moves forward, can move backward, and show up opposite during retro. So when Venus is retrograde, these things can show up in their opposite. So that's just something to note overall for all the signs. So now, if your Venus is in Aries, you love and give and receive love enthusiastically and competitively. They are quite masculine and loving, but will see where love goes and has to watch their jelliness. They get very jealous. Taurus, so my Taurus is in Venus, so if your Taurus is in Venus, you like to love and give and receive love sensually and beautifully. Their bedrooms is their chamber. Chamber is where it's their chamber, and that's so true for me. Mine's purple. I love my bedroom. I like to do all the things in the bedroom. They like the whole lingerie, setting candles out, and the mood and the scene, setting a stage for love, receiving and giving, and they're very sensual in that way. Gemini. If Venus is in Gemini, they receive in a lighthearted way and intellectually. They think about receiving, talk about receiving, and understand it and analyze it, but can they receive it? Something to note there. So that's just something to keep in mind. These are just like extra little tips and tricks that you can keep as a side note for your astrology overall. Again, rising, moon, sun. That's all you get. That's a perfect start for your astrology. So now if Mars, we're going to talk Mars real fast. Mars is how you fight and give energy. It's masculine. It's the push. It's what draws you out, and it's how you give. So Mars, if Cancer is in Mars for you, you give completely and fight completely. You don't fight fair or hold grudges, etc. Again, so Mars is how you fight and give energy in that masculine, active way. So if Mars is in Leo for you, you give selfishly and think about what you will get in return and fight about outcome in your favor. Fights selfishly to see if it works out in their favor and gives grandly too. Virgo, if Mars is in Virgo for you, you give and fight reluctantly. You don't want to expend that energy unless serving something ultimate, the ultimate outcome. If Mars is in Libra for you, you give unevenly. You fight to the death or hardly at all. Libras, in Mars, they represent both sides of the scale. So Sag gives and fights happily, goes with the flow. Sagittarius, not here to fight, but will go along for the ride. Feels good to give. Can't force them to give or fight. That's for Sagittarius. Kind of jumped in there because it wasn't bold and all the things. So if Scorpio is in Mars, you give in manipulative ways, but think about all other factors, looking at the web of it all. Calculated giving and fighting, all the consequences. They're about revenge. If you hurt them, don't rest till it happens. So you don't want to mess with Scorpio in Mars. If Capricorn's in Mars, they give in a paternal way and fight in a paternal way like a parent. If Aquarius is in Mars, they give irregularly, give and withhold. They look at things from all sides. If they see there are reasons to give, and when they fight, they will try to get you to see why they're right or unhinge you in some way. They look at all angles. If Pisces is in Mars for you, You fight usually by trying to hurt your feelings and know how to push your buttons, or they fight to try to hurt your feelings. I said that a little wrong. They know how to push your buttons, don't have to scream or yell, have emotional intelligence to hurt you, but they don't mean to. They give generously, and that's Pisces. Aries, they get really mad, and then in 10 seconds it's over. Woohoo! They can get over it pretty fast. It's time to move on. Aries are impatient, even about fighting. Taurus, if Taurus is in your Mars, you give and fight luxuriously. You give a lot of examples and stories, examples of the past when they fight, but give generously. They give best gifts on the planet. Gemini, if Gemini's in Mars for you, they don't like to fight, they like to talk it out. They really believe through talking they can get you to understand. They are like fighting with the debate team. They give gifts that make you laugh. Happiness and laughter is important to get you out of your comfort zone too. So they like a costume or something meant to play with them, so they can join in and all the things when they gift. So these are just some important planets for how you work in relationship with others. The other planets are important, but these in particular are the primary ones that work with your relationship with others. And we're going into the shadow astrology with Moon and Pluto, but I wanted to mention Chiron real fast before we dive deeper into the Moon and Pluto. Chiron is, astrology itself is full of cycles. Each planet has its own cycle of return, where our Saturn, when we were born, returns every 30 years, 29 and a half, 30 years. And that Saturn return realigns us with our life path every 30 years. So you might see it maybe 3-4 times in your lifetime. Chiron returns every 50 years. So there's a powerful thing that happens with Chiron, because Chiron is your wounded healer. So Chiron return happens to be around 50 years of age because it has a 50-year cycle. In other words, Chiron has completed its first full orbit since you were born in 50 years. So what this means for you, any planetary return tends to emphasize the signature of that planet in your chart. Since Chiron carries one of your core wounds, the year around 50 can be a time of illness or crisis. For a lot of people who have not done their healing work, it can re-trigger that wound and remind you that you have serious work to do. On the other hand, if you have done quite a bit of healing work prior to your Chiron return, this period can be easier to navigate. It can actually be a time of when you really begin to use your gifts and tap into your medicine. So Chiron return will be a turning point in your life. Either way, a time of profound change and transformation. So for those of you over 50, what did your life look around this time? So kind of ponder that a little bit. What shifts occurred for you? For those of you who are under 50, what positive shifts do you want to occur before Chiron returns? Because shit's going to hit the fan when Chiron returns. I'm 44 on Saturday, April 13th. So I'll be 44. So you know how when Mercury's retrograde, we feel the shadow effects of Mercury 2 weeks before and 2 weeks after. We feel that energy. The full moon, we feel it the day before, day of, day after. When Chiron is coming, you can feel it a few years in advance and start that, and a few years after. So there's no plan. Midlife crisis is real. Just saying. So it's something to ponder. Look up what sign your Chiron is in, and then look up where it falls. Look up the sign, what that kind of means. If you have time passages, when you get to the planets and you scroll down and hit Chiron, any of them, it will give you a description of what it means for the sign and what it means for the house that it's in. So it's really, and it's an amazing app for you to get. Highly recommend. Remember, it's free for you, or you can get the paid version and just have unlimited use for many people. So now we're going to circle right back. Get it? Circle astrology. Sorry. Moon houses for shadow work and nodes. So we're working on shadow astrology now. So here, look up the sign of where your moon falls. Mine's in Taurus. So see where it falls for you. Remember, it's your deepest desires. It's the subterranean levels. Figure out what your sign is for moon. Pluto represents your shadow other than the moon. So we're going to talk deeply about moon and Pluto. When viewing Pluto and the moon, they mean different things depending on what house they are in. So first you gather what sign it's in, then gather what house it's in. We're going to talk signs, then we're going to talk houses. Moon through the signs, and then Pluto through the signs. When I get to talking about the moon through the houses, think that will be the same for Pluto. So I really should have put in the header moon and Pluto through the houses, just so you know. I want you to understand that that's a combined effect of information for you for the houses. For the sign itself, smidge different. So now, look up your moon through the signs. If your moon is in Aries, think about the subterranean levels, the shadow self. We're doing our shadow work. Aries brings up in your subterranean levels, your subconsciously, here you feel a need to become, actualize, all about the self and personal will and the fire within. So remember, it's your deepest desires, and that's your shadow work. So first we're talking about the sign, then we'll talk about the house, and you combine that communication together. So if it's in, if your moon is in Sagittarius, you're all about the occult. Your deepest desire is all about the occult. If your moon is in Cancer, your subconsciousness need is to create home for family. That's your subconscious need. The subterranean levels, things to process. And then if your moon is in Leo, your subconsciousness need is to create, entertain for together with people. You want to create entertainment, be together with people, and a way of bringing people together, because Leo is all about entertainment, finding a channel or a vessel for fire energy. Moon is a feminine planet, so it's your divine feminine. It brings in that watery energy anyway, and then that's how we bring through. I'm trying to say this, and I feel the energy of what I'm trying to say, but I don't think I'll have the right words to articulate it. But moon is your subterranean levels, so and it works for feminine and your shadow. What am I trying to say? Shoot, I lost my thought already. Let me get back to it, and then if it pops in, it's meant to pop back in. So moon through the signs, once again, if moon is in Gemini for you, your subconsciousness need is to have a strong, compatible, intellectual relationship with others. You need to have a way of communicating what you think and feel. If it's in Taurus, your subconsciousness need is to have or create art of some form. Art is in many forms. It's as a musician, it's as a painter, it's as a graphic designer, it's interior design, it's so many other things that you can't possibly, like, what you can imagine is art. If your moon is in Libra, your subconscious need is relationships. So ponder that. Making sure it's balanced, right? You don't always have to be in a relationship to be happy. Choose yourself first, and then as you love yourself, the world around you loves you in that same way, and you'll find a partner who will love you the same way that you love yourself. So remember to do that inner work, and you'll attract the right relationships, partnerships, friendships, etc. If your moon is in Scorpio, your subconscious need and what matters to you most is mystery and passion and sex and death. Those are the things that matter to you most. That's what you want to talk about, and that's what you're all about. If it's in Capricorn, your subconscious need is doing well in your career. Capricorn is always reaching for the mountain, and if you're not on that mountain and rising to the top with them, they may discard you. If your mood is in Aquarius, your subconscious need is doing things differently than anybody else. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's different and done differently. If your moon is in Pisces, your subconscious need is your imagination, and do people respect your imagination? If your moon is in Virgo, your subconscious need is to work and serve others. You're not happy unless you're doing that. So, I want to talk about the houses last, only because Pluto is also for your shadow work. Should I? Let me see. I kind of think. Yeah, talk about that after. Okay. We're going to talk Pluto for shadow work. Something else to keep in mind in your chart. I don't want to throw too much at you. North nodes and south nodes. Quick note, mine is Sagittarius, so the opposite is Gemini for me. So my south node is, my north node is Sagittarius, my south node is Gemini. So you just do it the opposite. There is that little curly little circle with a upside down U and a little circle. That's your north node. And then it flips for the south node when you're looking on your chart. So north nodes are nodes of the moon. North node is your soul's work, your dharma, and what you are meant to do in this life. South node is what you did last time. Pay attention to what you are doing. If you are doing more your south node, you are not doing your soul's work. Your south node is an escape mechanism or a comfort zone. Your south node becomes a trap because it's what's easy for you. You've already mastered it. And your north node is the work for you now. So where Sagittarius is all about letting go, maybe channeling, being the teacher, fiery energy. For me, the opposite is Gemini, and that's the talking, the over-communicating. Not necessarily over, but extra communicating. And so I've mastered that. So now it's all about just allowing it to flow. With that Sagittarius. One example of the many. Something to keep in mind. If you want me to discuss more about North Node, South Node, and what they mean for each house and all the things, let me know. Now let's get back to our Pluto houses for shadow work. So figure out where your sign is for Pluto. Look up the house and then keep that in mind for later. But Pluto represents your shadow other than the moon. When viewing Pluto and the moon, they mean different things depending on what house they're in, right? Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio. Hades is the god of Pluto. Rules subconscious, rebirth, change, death, transformation. Father of Phoenix governs survival. So you can think Scorpio and Phoenix and Hades. Those are like extra little archetypes to think about for Pluto. So Pluto, in general, I'm going to list off the effects in the different elements of your signs. So there's the earth signs, the water, the fire, and the air signs. I'm going to go through them. If your Pluto is an earth sign in general, so Aries, Leo, Sagittarius are our fire signs. Aquarius, Gemini, Libra are air signs. Did I put them in? I didn't actually list them. Trying to make my way around the wheel. Did east, I did south, and west is water. We have Pisces, Cancer, and water. Pisces, Cancer. Pisces, Cancer. Oh my gosh. Scorpio. Scorpio is the fiery water sign. And then north for earth, if your earth sign is Taurus, Virgo, shoot, my brain's not concentrating anymore. Or Gemini. No, not Gemini. Gemini's air. Capricorn. Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo are earth signs. So if your earth sign is if you're an earth sign in Pluto, you activate your shadow energy and transforms through power, business, career, personal wealth. So it depends on your elemental profile for Pluto. When it's grounding itself in the earth sign, it transforms itself through power, business, career, and prosperity. Something to ponder and think about. Pluto affects the water signs this way. If your Pluto's a water sign, you activate your shadow energy through your intuition, through your deep inner knowing, through your mothering, and through your mystery. Scorpio is the sign of mystery. Cancer is the sign of the mother. Pisces is the sign of imagination. Whether you indulge your skills and gifts of transformation through Pisces, your imagination, that's how Pisces transforms. Cancer transforms through parenting, by giving birth or mothering other people. Cancers don't have to give birth to mother, though. They mother everybody, and maybe annoyingly so if they're not your mother. Scorpio engages the deeper mysteries and is unafraid and wants to dig into the real deep stuff with you. That's how you activate transformation in your life, through Pluto, if you're one of the water signs. Activate transformation energies through occult wisdom and secret information. Pluto, mine's in a fire sign. Wait, what is my Pluto? Oh, I was thinking about Sagittarius. I don't know what it is. I'll have to look that up again. I forgot. So Pluto affects fire signs in this way. If it's a fire sign for you, you can transform through knowledge and partnerships and assertion of will. Fire, right? This is a physical healing in the physical body. If you are in Southern Quadrant, either by your astrology or the Myers-Briggs types, which we have not discussed. If you want to get into Myers-Briggs, let me know. Then you experience transformational energies in this way, if it's in fire. Now, air signs. If it's Pluto affects the air signs this way. Governs transformation and change, underworld, shadow world, unexpressed feelings, desires, and needs that are still active in your field. Expresses that transformation energy in air signs through thoughts, relationships, and social change. If you are in Eastern Quadrant, either by your astrology or Myers-Briggs type, then you experience transformation energies in this way. Okay. That's what I wanted to mention in general for Pluto and the signs, and now I'm going to go through. So Pluto rules your biggest fear by house. We're going to talk about houses for Pluto and the biggest fear, and then we're going to go back to the moon. They kind of can be similar, but here they're a bit different, okay? So we're going through the houses for Pluto for real. Where I was thinking of combining the Pluto and the moon together, let's do them separate, and that's how I have it laid out here. Where is your Pluto in the house now? So if you're looking at the wheel, I forgot to have a visual. There are 12, just like a pie, there are 12 slices. So your first slice, so here's your circle. You have the line of the horizon. The first slice starts below the horizon on the left. So that's house 1, and then 2, 3, all the way around till you get back to 12, which touches house 1. Biggest fear in the house for Pluto in your chart. Mine happens to be in Libra. I don't know why I kept that in the notes, but I did. Mine is in Libra in the first house. Okay, so I'm an air sign for Pluto. Going back to my how I process is through air. Okay. All right. If your Pluto is in the first house, this is about fear. What is your biggest fear? The first house is the house of self, and you can even, there's tons of graphics out there. I can post one to the group if I remember tomorrow. The first house, there's a graphic showing you the slices and what each of the houses mean. So if you forget, you can just get a quick graphic out there of that. First house is the house of self. It's the biggest fear is confrontation and being exposed. So you're worried someone is going to find out. Almost never happens. Fear is irrational from Pluto. There's intrigue and intimidation here in the first house. just worried someone is going to see something about them they don't want to see? Can you name it and tame it? That's the magic there. That's the work with Pluto. Once you figure out what it is, what your fear is, and you name it, then it takes its power away. You know how you process, you know how it works, and then you see it, you shine the light on it, and it diminishes its power exponentially. So then it's good to keep that in your awareness. So now, if your Pluto is in the second house, this is the house of value and self-worth. Your biggest fear is fear of poverty, fear of not having enough, not being enough, not having enough. So try to work on that. If your Pluto is in the third house, house of communication, these folks are obsessed with truth. Your biggest fear is being taken advantage of and being duped. Always think someone is trying to pull one over on them, but remember to name it and tame it. It's irrational and it's not going to happen. See a lot of early childhood trauma in their third house, so it can follow you in life in that way. If your Pluto's in the fourth house, house of home, so I'm visualizing like the sign of Pluto. When you're looking at your chart, you'll see the sign of Pluto. It's just a little symbol, and you can look up symbols too, and I can post that in the group. But you'll see it where it is in the house, or if you have like the Time Passages app, it will let you know when you go into Pluto where the sign is and what house you're in. So different ways of figuring out where it is if you get confused. And if you do get confused, post your chart in the group, and then I'll help you figure it out. I'll explain what your chart means a little bit more. Fourth house. The fourth house, if Pluto's in the fourth house, this is the house of home. Your biggest fear is fear of family issues. Something with parents. There's usually secrets, secret family lives. Something you feel others shouldn't see. So the fear of exposure of something in the home is there. Again, irrational. Take it out. Fifth house. If your Pluto's in the fifth house, this is the house of creativity. This fear this irrational fear is fear of loss and a betrayal. Something in a relationship will represent loss or be betrayed here. You could also project on your partner that they will betray you, when in reality they are fearing you will betray them. Signs of instability in relationships and lack of trust. So that's something to work on. If Pluto's in the sixth house, it's the house of service and health. This fear is fear of criticism and illness. Hypochondriacs are often found in this house. Also afraid of being told they are wrong. Usually they are very healthy. Seventh house is the house of relationships. The fear is a power struggle in relationships. Fear about relationship problems, divorce, separation, unstable parents could show you a pattern here. If your Pluto is in the eighth house, this is the house of death and regeneration. Second most mysterious house for Pluto to be. Fear of losing control, fear of dark night of the soul. Even if cuspy, meaning like you're kind of a little bit out of the house but still in the house, use primary placement for Pluto. So like the Time Passages app will tell you if it's like somewhere on the line, but notice if it's on the cusp. So fear of potential for own darkness to take over you. That's in the eighth house. The ninth house is the house of philosophy. This fear is fear of judgment, fear of being judged, fear of being ridiculed by others, sometimes for your beliefs or who you are. Can be reinforced by earlier experiences of being bullied. And then the 10th house is the house of status. This fear is the fear of failure, fear of control. You struggle with authority. Don't like to be told what to do by authority figures. You fear too much control over them and don't want to look like a failure or be perceived as a failure. 11th house, house of community. Fear of isolation, fear of being alone, fear of dying alone. Understand it, name it, and tame it. These are fears that are, unfounded, but the fear could be there. So if the fear is there, you will attract it energetically. So start working on it, shining the light, and then you remove the possibility. 12th house, if this fear is the house, it's the house of secrets and greater mystery and shadows. So the biggest fears here, the biggest fears fall here. Fear of demons, fear of your own demons and other demons, fear of what you don't know. Pluto in the first house is said to be the lightest shadow work. I don't know how true this is, but this is something to think about. And fear in the 12th house is said to be the deepest shadow work. So further around the wheel you go, the deeper the shadow work. Usually those with Pluto in the 12th house are on the last life. Again, who knows? I feel like we're all ascending. This could be true or maybe not. Usually a sign of advanced lifetimes and deeper excavation if you're in the 12th house with your Pluto. You must do shadow work towards 12th house for sure. When in first house, it tends not to be as deep. When Pluto is in retrograde, keep it in mind, you're being given more opportunities to do this shadow work when it's in retrograde. Okay. Now I want to get back to the houses for the moon. Houses for the moon. If your moon is in the first house, so keep in mind what your sign is for the moon and the Pluto, and then figure out where it is in the house. Where your deepest fears are in Pluto, here we're talking shadow work for the moon, the subterranean levels. So in the first house, I'm gonna give you a mantra and talk about shadow fear. So for the first house, your mantra is I am, means you wear your feelings on your sleeve. I feel this, I feel that. Everybody knows how I feel in this house. If the shadow fear in the moon in the first house is moodiness and can manipulate other people's feelings. And that's if it's in the first house, that's the shadow fear. For the second house, and with your moon in the second house, mantra is I have. Subconsciously, you need stuff to feel fulfilled. Your shadow fear is materialism, need stuff to, and get to a point where they want stuff. Get to a point where where you want stuff. If your moon is in the third house, your mantra is I think. You need intellectual stimulation. You want to know things. You need people to teach you things, like to read books and watch YouTube. The shadow fear in the third house is over-intellectualizing their feelings and closing themselves off. If your moon is in the fourth house, your mantra is I nurture. Need for mothering and close attachment. Underneath it all, what matters is your mother figure and your relationship with your mother figure or others. The shadow fear in the fourth house is not being able to stand on your own feeling and mother themselves. Let other people mother them in the fourth house. Let other people mother them all their lives until they don't have a mother figure anymore and realize they can't take care of themselves. So that's the fear. If your moon's in the fifth house, your mantra is I am fun. What matters underneath it all is pleasure and enjoyment for life. The shadow fear in the fifth house is hedonism. Are you always fun? Are you always having a good time? That's not life, so it's something to learn. If your moon's in the sixth house, your mantra is I am hardworking. Underneath is all you are here to do, good work, and to organize things for people. Your fear in the sixth house is insecurity. Am I good enough? Is my work enough? Did I do enough? If your moon's in the seventh house, your mantra is I am a partner. They are here to be good partners to a husband or wife. The shadow fear, if it's in the seventh house, is they don't know how to be alone. Are you always going to be partnered? If it's in the eighth house, the mantra is I connect. Change, reinvention, self-doubt, worry, obsessed with sex and death, very shadowy moon placement. The shadow fear in the eighth house is sometimes don't know good boundaries and can take more than you can give. If the moon's in the ninth house, mantra is I explore, dreamer, creative position, religious and philosophical position. Your shadow fear is not being able to be happy with life as it is. Dreamers and always want something different and something more than what they are. If it's in the 10th house, the mantra is I achieve. Achievement, popularity, and success. The shadow fear in the 10th house is who are you without your image or success? They might not know how to answer this question beyond their success. If it's in the 11th house, the mantra is I aspire. Visions for the collective, group relationships. The shadow fear is depression. They are optimistic in the 11th house because of other people, but if they get depressed and discouraged about what's possible, there's nothing more sad than this to them. When they lose their belief that it's possible to change through the collective or group relationship. It's that fear. If the moon is placed in the 12th house, mantra is I dream and I dream alone. Need solitude to recharge. The shadow fear in the 12th house is ending up alone. They tend to be alone or die alone, but remember not to feel sorry. It's a part of their life path. Don't feel sorry for them. So that's the moon through the houses. We went over, I crammed a lot of information in there for you. So much. So let me know if you have questions. Refer back to your notes as well. They are in your classroom. I found a few with silly things that are not bold, that should be bold, etc. If I have time to fix, I will. I might not have time before I leave for my trip, so we'll see. So let's remember, sometimes your shadow is a teacher. If someone's being lazy and we need to react guns a-blazing, so that wakes them up and we see something. There are lessons, depending upon what quadrant a person is in, earth, air, fire, water, your approach will be different. Fire can be fast and burn quick with shadow work, but water signs run a lot deeper and hold sadness longer and grudges too long. Air signs will overthink it, react fast, and not always accurately reacting to the current challenge after all because they overthink and have mental exhaustion. Earth signs, scariest of the whole bunch because when they go into the shadow, they don't show you anything. It's all subterranean, almost to the point where you're you want to ask what's up. Earth knows how to anchor their shadow, so easiest to deal with. They are reflective and analytical and grounded. We put our roots down. Fire burns quick and angry, and then it's over in 2 hours. So every sign handles things differently, and it's good to keep that kind of thing in mind for your shadow work. Some other cool things to keep in mind, just for fun. If you know what time you were born, this is a cool thing to know. Your birth time is important for your ascendant, but also, even more so, how close you are to the sun and the moon. If you're born closer to high noon, that's a leadership profile. So take note, are you more of a leader? And were you born closer to noontime? Leading in the world, but it's an excessive sun masculine energy the closer you are to high noon. If you're born closer to midnight, it's the opposite. That's behind the scenes. Somebody's number 2. That's not the CEO. That's the vice president. And excessive, if you're really close to midnight, it's very excessive in the feminine moon energy. The people who are at the midpoints, that's more like me. I was born 5:35 p.m. Those are the only people who have the right balance. So according to this, I'm a bit super balanced in the masculine and the feminine energy. Balanced in masculine and feminine, there are lots of different factors that come into play with who you are and how you react and act in the world. So this is just one other fun factor to kind of keep in mind. Then numerology of names, so a little extra note that I added in here for you guys. First name is about you, primary facet. I found out that my official birth name is not Maggie, it's Margaret, and I found out that Margaret means pearl, and that was really cool because also in my Vedic astrology reading recently, it was said that pearl and moonstones are good ones for me to work with, and I was like, oh, Margaret means pearl. That's interesting. Your first name is about you, primary facet. Your middle name is secondary reference to you, minor facet, and your last name is lineage and ancestry. So that is your maiden last name. So if you're married and all the things, it doesn't matter. Married name is his ancestry. But we'll share with you the facet of it you are meant to unlock, and the rest of it's for him to work on. So if you take on the name, there's a little energy that you're taking on of that ancestry, but it's mostly the person's name that you took. And I say him, but it could be that it's two of the same sex marrying, and you take the other person's last name, whatever it is. If you decide to do that, maybe you don't. So if you have someone else's last name, it's their work to do, but you may take on some of the energy, but mostly it's your maiden name that is going to be the work, your ancestry work. Nicknames also have energy to them, so I take on Maggie. So look at numerology of nicknames. If people are calling you a different name, there's something to that, and to look into that name too. So like if you're born with one name, but someone keeps calling you a completely different name, they see you as that name. Maybe they have past lives with you with that name. So look into the numerology of that. So by numerology, I mean, look up your name numerologically. You can go online and figure this out. In the alphabet, you can, each number, like A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, etc. And then you count it. Count up, add up all the numbers, then reduce it down until you get a numerology meaning for it. So let's say you get 33, then you reduce it to 6. Look up the number 6. 6 means love, and all the other things that it does mean in numerology. 4 is balance and family life and good structure. 3 is Trinity, Holy Trinity. It's a magical number. So you look that up. Something extra to do. It's fun, but I didn't want to throw too much at you, but I kind of did, so I'm sorry. Please let me know if you have questions. Please let me know if you need clarification on any of this that we went over. We did crystal healing, then we went to shadow astrology. If you're like me, you might have watched the first half for crystal healing, paused, took a breath, maybe came back the next day and watched the shadow astrology part, because they're two different energies to them. But it's helpful to have the tactile with the information and learning and all the things. So your notes are in your classroom. If you have questions, let me know. I'm going to see if I can get my hubby on the table sometime soon, just to show you the visual of doing the activating of the crystals on the body. What else? As I mentioned, Harmony Rites are coming up for you next week, so that's going to be awesome. Crystal Gridding bonus class is coming, and our deeper dive for the Vogel, Shamanic Vogel extraction, and any questions that you have throughout the month. Astrology tends to bring up a ton of questions, so post it in the group, shoot me an email or an instant message, and then we can work on it. And just take note that I'm away next week in Texas, but still send me the stuff. Because I'll either be able to respond real fast if I have a break, or can respond before or after, and we'll get to it. You post it in the group. Other people who are really in the know of this information already can help you, so everyone can interact. And this is just like one take on astrology, and you'll have plenty of people adding in more of their expertise, because maybe there's an astrologer in our group that says, oh, but if you look deeper, there's more to know about this because of this. Astrology is a rabbit hole. What I gave you is really just a small piece. If you can just get your rising sign, your sun sign, and your moon sign, that's a good snapshot to start, and then you can dive deeper into all of the other things that we talked about tonight. So I hope that you have an amazing rest of your day or night whenever you're watching this, and I will be seeing you soon. Blessed be.